Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Lawanda.
I'm Tiffany.
I'm Ron.
I'm Jason.
And we have Akashi and Ron, who has been with us before. Welcome back. Thank you guys for joining us today. We are in conversation with a very special guest. So Ron, do you want to go ahead and bring our guest in?
Oh, there she is.
Hey,
Hi.
how are you?
Oh,
I'm
wow.
well, thank you. How are you?
Well, we are fine. Thank you for joining us. It is also a pleasure. We have Tiara as our moderator, so I think we're going to get started.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, this is the incredible Angela Lewis. Personally, I love Aunt Louie, so it is such a pleasure to have you on with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So we kind of have our channel where we recap Snowfall every week, and we are so into it. And then we have some of our viewers on with us, and we just want to ask you some questions and pick your brain about the show. So, you know, Lawanda, you look ready. So maybe I'll go to Lawanda first.
Oh, yes. Well, let's start with me. You know, when we sit around and we discuss the show, I was thinking to myself, I've watched Aunt Louie grow and develop. And so now what I'm starting to see is that she could almost contend for the throne with Franklin, but the way she deals with her team is much different. So what's Aunt Louie's superpower?
I think Aunt Louie's superpower is really her voice. She uses her voice and her brain together at the same time. And that's everything in this world where, people trying to figure it out and everybody's hot-headed and everybody wants to do it their way, but who's really thinking strategically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that has something to do with the feminine approach to situations and analyze to figure out how to get things done?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Awesome. Tiffany, I think we could come to you next with your
Okay, well, I'll start with my question.
your question.
I think you and I have similar questions. I wanted to piggyback off of you, but I wanted to talk about your relationship with Franklin, because it seems like right now you guys, there's some tension there, and it's like you guys are contending for the throne. And I was just wondering, it seems like Louie, well, you said you want to break away from Franklin, you want to do your own thing. Is it because of the risk of you getting shot? I mean, because you've been shot before. Is it because you want to be a queen pin? Because I saw how you kicked your feet up, girl, when y'all finessed Scully. I was like, okay. I was like, Louie is enjoying this. I think she wants that crown.
Yes. I mean, I think it's all of those things. I think Louie has always seen herself as the boss, as the queen. But I think that she's always been loyal and to her family. And she's always wanted when you little and you got a vision of yourself that's so big, and then you will either have a nucleus of people to support you and say, go, 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 you can do it. Yes, 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 you can do what you want to do, be who you want to be. And then some people don't have that. And I don't think Louie had that growing up. Like for her entire life, she just had no doors slammed in her face, all the negativity. And I think in spite of that, she has been able to hold on to her big vision of herself. And so she got an opportunity. She jumped on that opportunity, and she's been with Franklin. She'll ride it till the wheels fall off, but you gotta be able to understand who she is. And if you keep relegating her to the kitchen, all she can do is cook. She don't have full access to the money. She don't have this. You can't do that. Oh, you just the auntie. She trying to tell you the move to make, and you go and you do the exact opposite, and then it fall apart. Now people getting killed. And it's like, I know I can do this. I know I can do it better. and different, which is better than what you're doing. And so I think that's where she is. I think she knows she has a vision for her business, and she has a vision for herself. And it's like, I've been trying to tell you, you're not listening, so I'm gonna do it. And you're not gonna get in my way.
Mhm.
I was shot last year, almost killed. You're not getting in my way. I'm doing it. I think
Yeah,
that's where she is.
I agree with that statement because it seems like Aunt Louie really was Franklin's introduction into the game. And to me, he seems so a little ungrateful and unappreciative.
Can you say that again? Can you please say that again? I hope you're listening, Damson Idris. I hope you're listening. Say that again, please.
Yes, I mean, it is true because none of this would have been possible without Louie's guidance from the jump. And I just feel like they don't really appreciate her role in the whole organization. And then I guess my question for you is like in terms of Jerome, because and then you have your man who at times he seems complacent with what's going on. He wants to keep things as they are, but you are so ambitious, and that drive that you have really pushes you to want to expand. How do you think Jerome is dealing with having such a strong-minded woman? Is it a struggle for him?
I think so. I think it's a struggle, but I think, I wish Amy was here to talk about Jerome, but we've had many conversations. And what I know about Jerome is that Jerome has always been trying to just do the best that he can to provide for himself and for his family, right? And so sometimes for some people I don't think that he's complacent in just that being enough, because I think he has dreams and visions for himself that Louie maybe can't see because she over here dreaming big. And I think that they're two big personalities that are super, super passionate about everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so when those things gel, it's so beautiful and it's so like yummy and gooey. And then when they clash, it's crazy. And I think that through all of their fighting, they always fight to find each other at the end of the day. And so I don't think that Jerome is complacent in just doing nothing or, whatever, status quo. I think he really does love this woman, and he really does want to see her live her dreams, because the dreams are so colorful and so loud. And I think he wants to support that. I don't think it was his choice really to be, at the end of the day, he made a choice, but I don't think he would have readily chosen to be in this game like this, in the cocaine game, in the crack game. I think he was okay with, marijuana and a little bit of wet, but he did it because he loved her and she wanted to do it. And she saw something that he couldn't see. And so I think that's where he's kind of caught in between, like, I have another vision for myself in my life that maybe is not as flamboyant as yours, but I love you so much and I got you. And that's what Louie loves about Jerome. I don't think she's ever had anybody in her life that's ever had her like that.
I see you guys stepping it up this season with the Yeah, you guys really stepped it up this season with the horses and everything. It seems like y'all are starting to enjoy the fruits of your labor and everything. So
yes. Yeah, I think, the horses that was a fun scene to shoot.
I want to go to Ron Johnson next and get your question in.
Well, Aunt Louie, I'm going to be your protector from afar. And so my first question is, I got to get this off my chest. That crooked cop, Mr. Afro So Soft, who keeps putting his hands on you, does he actually think that you're going to leave Jerome for him? Tell him to step back.
Yeah, he be pushing it, right?
Pushing it. Tell him I don't like that.
I don't think anybody likes that.
So what's his end game? Does he honestly think he has a chance with you?
I don't know. You got to keep watching. The story does develop. And I don't know. I'm not going to give any spoilers.
All I thought I could catch it.
You tried it.
I tried.
Yeah, she did. I have a question. You know, that speech that that Damson gave, what Franklin gave was epic. You know, gave me the brick by brick scene.
Mhm.
And I took that as a threat. And did Louie, wasn't it a threat?
Yes, absolutely. I think so. I think so. You know, and it's hard, you know, you as an actor, you know, you want to clap back, but if you don't got the lines on the page, it's like you gotta just stand there and eat it. You're like, oh, but oh. So yeah, but I do think she heard him, she took it in, and she's got some decisions to make.
I was surprised that Jerome allowed her to talk, allowed him to talk to her like that. Because you know, we know he whooped Franklin's butt last season.
Yes, I think, you know, I think Jerome is in an interesting place where he wants to always protect Louie and always know that that's his nephew. And, you know, sometimes things get heated. Yeah.
Okay. Akechi, do you have a question for Angela?
It's Akachi. Thank you for having me. I guess I'm wondering the relationship dynamic with Jerome and you, Auntie. Are you all basically willing to take on your nephew? Because I've seen how he's evolved to become more and more ruthless over the course of each season. And I noticed Jerome even, you know, cut his eyes when he made a reference about his father being killed or not killed. That was on Alton. And so I'm wondering, you know, what the future lies in terms of, are they willing to stand together, which I assume they would, against their nephew, Franklin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they, Louie and Jerome are in this together. And I'm trying to think about how to answer this question without spoilers.
Without giving too much.
Right. They're in this together. And I think what's important for them is each other. And what's important for them is smart decisions. And I think they really are not here for the bull. I can curse on here, you know, and so, you know, if Franklin turns out to be going in a direction that they're not down with, then, you know, they got some decisions to make.
Okay.
All right. Jason, you're
Yeah, I guess, look, you're the blueprint for Franklin in a lot of ways. Your character kind of set up his whole, you know, his whole process. So, and you went from there to the country cousins. Are we going to get back to that at all, where you're going to be exploring what happened with those folks that you set off? That it felt like there was a crazy dynamic because there was a guilt thing going on at the point where, you know, I know Jerome didn't feel good about the way that was coming together, and your character was just saying you have to expand. So are we going to be seeing more of that this season?
I don't know. You got to watch and
That means yes.
Right.
But yes, you're right. Louie does want to expand, and Jerome is definitely. It took Jerome's kind of shining a light on what they actually are doing, the consequences of their actions, and you know, them poisoning the community. I think Louie was not so. Not that she didn't know, because she knew, you know, but I think her goals, she had her focus, you know, on other things until Jerome like shone a light on no, I need you to stop and look at what you're doing to a person that you really love. You say you love this person, but look what you're getting ready to do to her family. And so I think that was the first time Louie had to really like stop and think, and you know, and because move from an awareness.
Your character's becoming a little more humanized in general. And if you look at the thing with Scully and the way that you guys are carrying out the character, you still have that emotional balance that Franklin definitely does not have. Franklin is way more detached. Not saying he doesn't care at all, but he's like 10% care, the rest of it is business. And it seems like the character is really getting into like a place where it's a conundrum a little bit because you guys actually care for the people that you're working with. So it makes it a little more difficult to kind of be. And lastly, I'll just say you're killing that role. You're doing a phenomenal job because I'm sitting there like,
thank you.
and I mean, all of you guys are the whole. I was watching last night. And I said I couldn't really appreciate how well it was being acted until recently because I'm like, you're so caught up in it that you don't stop to think that people are acting. You're just so caught up in the storyline that you got flawless in the way that you're executing it. So I think that's phenomenal.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I do think Louie is definitely still able to access her emotional life. And I also think that Louie she uses that, you know, she knows she's cunning, you know, she knows how to get to people at their emotional core. And so I don't think she's totally innocent and totally you know, just emotional for the sake of being emotional. I think she does still have compassion. She does still love, but she definitely recognizes people's soft spots. And she gets them in the soft spot, honey.
Yes, she does. All right, Ron Hunter, we want to come your way.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to see you in person, Angela. You, like everyone's already echoed I echo the sentiments. You do a great job in your role. And I like the fact that, you know, your character is very cunning, and it's interesting because she's so cunning that I could see like maybe another writer might have taken her a little different because she could be ruthless if they really wanted to. It goes hand in hand. But I like the fact that there's a human element to her, and she's a lot more caring because I think that's more dynamic in the character because you see so many people who use that same type of cunning and it's a ruthless thing, and she can really be cutthroat. But I like the way it's written, and I like the way you're definitely acting in it. I'm wondering, you know, if because it's two different dynamics, you know, I like to say that you and your husband are in the streets, you know, more, and then Franklin is kind of above that, even though he lives in the streets, but you know, the people he's dealing with is on another level. And I wonder if they fully appreciate and realize the type of danger that he's in on a daily basis, you know, him, you know, taking those bullets and knocking down those issues so that the other part of the business can do its thing. I know your character's got her own stuff going on in the streets, but it's levels to it. And I just wonder if they truly appreciate what he has to go through.
What if Louie and Jerome appreciate
right
that?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
I think we do. I think they do. I think that Louie feels like you're gonna make the moves that you make. You're gonna sit in the positions that you're gonna sit in, and kind of direct things from there. But I'm on the ground. I'm trying to tell you what it is down here. So whatever it is that you're doing up there, okay, great. But this is what's really happening. If you don't want to listen, you making decisions from up there, and I'm getting shot down here. You know.
You know,
Franklin didn't get shot. Franklin didn't get shot on the streets. He got shot by
what it's like.
ex-girl.
Right.
Right.
In this last episode, when Franklin stepped to you and Jerome, I saw something different in you. A little more, not so much cunning, but you were like ready to take it a little bit. You know, it looked like you want to go to blows with Franklin a bit. And I guess I want to say, is that something to come in your character? Are we looking at you evolve into maybe a more destructive character, if you might say? Or is it that you're you know, he just got on your last nerves and that was all you could do?
Well, you know, Louie is so smart. Louie, you know, when we meet Louie, she's fighting, you know, so she comes from a very black and white place. You did this, now I'm about to respond in this way. And I think when she made a decision to assert herself as a potential leader in this in this dynamic, in this family business, she made a decision to not behave in those ways, to behave as a leader, to behave, to use her brain instead of her hands, to use her brain instead of her sex appeal. And so I think she's going to continue to do that. But you can only be pushed so much, you know, and Louie is not into being disrespected. She's not into being overlooked. She's not into being screamed at. So we'll see how she handles it.
Akachi? Is it Akachi? Sorry.
Thank you.
Akachi, yes.
I have a question about it seemed like there was like a reconciliation that took place with you and Scully. Well, mostly Jerome, but choosing to, you know, inform on him what his move was going to be. Was that like from a soft place, or was it more like a strategic place? Because you know that he is unraveling. Scully is unraveling, but was that just part of me feels like your character, Auntie and Jerome, and even I can't think of the brother's name right now. It just seems that you all seem to have more morals or more loyalty, more, you know, following principle. And Franklin's kind of like, after he offed his friend, you know, no problem, look at the stars, bow, done. You know, like it just seems that you all are kind of holding that place a little bit of morality. And would you say that was the case with Scully, or was it strategic?
I would say it's more strategic. Louie's morality, I think Louie is smart, and I do think Louie is loyal. But if you remember when Manboy was still alive and they were trying to decide what to do with Manboy and or Scully, Louie is the one who said, take out Manboy. Scully might be crazy, but he stays in his lane. And so I think Louie understands his perspective. Maybe not, you know, all the craziness, but she understands if you just do what you say you're gonna do, Scully will stay in his lane. And so I think that's what that's about. And I think she was able to tap into Scully's soft spot when he came for her at the hospital. So they have an understanding. So at this moment, or up until the whole ear thing, I think Louie was like, I know how to work with that. That's why she was really pressing Franklin to get the price cut, because she already told Scully that the prices were gonna be cut. And she knows that Scully is all about honesty. Do what you say you're gonna do, right? And so now, after witnessing firsthand how crazy Scully is, I think there's a pivot that might be happening. You know, we'll see. You know, I think she's still formulating a strategy, but yeah, she was able to implement her plan with the help of Mello's naive foolishness.
Yeah. I have a question, Angela. So when you first got the script and you saw what the role was, what was your first impression of Aunt Louie? And then what is your impression of her now? And how does it impact how you approach the role to embody her?
Yeah, when I first got the script, I thought, oh, this is gonna be interesting. The script, the audition scene was the very first scene where we meet Louie, where she's watching her stories and she takes her earrings off and she goes and beats up the girl. So now I gotta do all of that with no girl to beat up, with no nothing. So for me, it was really a challenge, an audition challenge that was super fun to do. When I got the call back, well, here's a little information. First of all, I auditioned for SnowFall. I didn't get it. A year later, I got an audition for SnowFall, the very same character, the very same scene. And I was looking at it like, I know I auditioned for this. What is happening? And, you know, just audition again, basically was the answer. Okay. So I did the scene again. I got the call back. And it was in that moment that I really had to pause, because through experience, I have come to kind of strategize for myself that, you as actors, we audition for things for many different reasons. You audition for it because you like the character, you really like the writer, you really want to work with this particular director, you really want to be seen by this particular casting director. Maybe you don't, gel so much with the material, but you want to get into this casting director's office, so I'm going to audition. But once you get a call back, I've come to learn from experience that there is a good chance that you could get it. And so and I like to be choosy about the parts that I take. And so if I'm going to go to the callback, I'm going to go in assuming I might get this role.
Mhm.
I say, okay, so now I get the call back and I have to stop. I have to go, okay, how? I don't know nothing about no fighting in the streets. I don't know nothing about taking off my earrings. I know that because that is a part of my, life experience, but I'm not the one taking off the earrings. I just don't get down like that. So how am I going to play this woman? What? Is it another drug drama? Do I want to be in a drug drama? Not really. So, okay, I got this call back. It does say John Singleton. Let me try to figure out how I can enter into this person, So I sat down and I did a meditation on Louie and tried to understand who she was. How did she get to this place where she's taking off her earrings and beating somebody up? She on Sherm. What is that? And what I learned in that meditation was that Louie really was a very heartbroken person. She was a little girl who believed what the world told her about herself, a little Black girl who believed what the world told her. And I really, every time I talk about that, I get emotional. I really came to love Louie in that moment, and I really wanted to protect her. And by protect her, I mean, I wanted to show her humanity. It is so easy because I did it in the beginning to just write her off and discard her the way that she has been discarded her entire life. And that is what brought her to that moment. And I was afraid that if I didn't take that role, that whoever they gave it to might not give her that same love and might just play her regular old stereotype. And so everybody would disregard her and, whatever. Nobody would care about Louie. And I cared about her in that moment. I just loved her so much. And so that's why I took the role, because I felt like I needed to protect her.
Wow.
It definitely comes through, because I think the audience has grown to love Louie too.
You're doing an amazing job. I know one of my best friends told me, she was like, "Oh, I want to be on the show." She was like, "I love Aunt Louie." And the thing that sold her on you was the part with the soap opera. You would have been up on the girl. She was like, "Oh, I love her." I wanted to say to you, I know since speaking of the late great John Singleton, I just wanted to get your opinion on how the show is now. Do you feel like it's staying true to his vision of SnowFall now that he's gone and everything?
Yeah, I feel like, John fought for a lot of things in his life, and he fought up until the end. Literally, he was fighting for his vision, not only on our show, but in the world, in Hollywood and in the world. And John was a smart dude, and he was genius, and he put a lot of people on. He changed a lot of people's lives. And so a lot of people, he fought to get people put in place on our set, in front of and behind the camera, who could see his vision and who could execute his vision. And I hope that I know that we as individuals and we as a team effort always have John's vision, his legacy in mind. And I hope that he is proud wherever he is I hope that he's proud.
You guys have been killing it for all 5 seasons.
All
I'm
seasons.
always amazed. The writing is so tight and the acting is too. I mean, the show is phenomenal. You guys should be proud of yourself. And we're just so thankful to have you on the show. I'm speaking a little bit because I think Tiara's having some technical issues, so I'm stepping up. Oh, Akachi, you wanted to say something? I just wanted to check with Angela to make sure that how she is on time first.
Yeah,
Because
okay, I got a couple more minutes.
Okay. So I was just curious, based on who you are, Miss Angela, and your character, what would you say that you yourself could learn or you aspire to that you see within your character, and vice versa? What could your character learn from you?
I think Louie could learn some. If Louie were going to continue her line of business, what would she learn from me? I think I'm pretty aware. I like to be, in my consciousness, fully connected to myself, connected to the earth, connected to what's real. And I think Louie could probably use some of that. I think that might steer her in a different direction.
Yes.
But what I'm learning from Louie is for sure how to open my mouth and say what I want, how to stand in my power. It is incredibly difficult to play Louie and not be standing in your power. And it is incredibly difficult to navigate the up leveling in my career and in my life without fully standing in my power and without being able, feeling comfortable, feeling safe enough in myself to say what I want and what I don't want and what I want, and to articulate the vision that I have for my life. Can't do it if you don't speak up.
And Louie is the first character I know you from. Are there other mainstream roles that you're doing or have done that we wouldn't have seen or going to see coming up?
Mainstream, like series regular roles? No, this is definitely my first big role. I've done some guest star things in other shows, but this is definitely my first series regular. I do have some things cooking on the stove, so I can't talk about it, but
okay.
Good things coming. I'm producing now, so good things coming in that.
Hey.
I got a nonprofit in the Black maternal health space. So
I did read that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So a lot of good things happening.
Well, did I read correctly that you played alongside what's her name, Laura Linney?
Laura Linney.
And in the
Yes.
big you played the nurse. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, now, that's heavy right there. Don't leave that out.
I learned a lot from her. I played a nurse, and we had just a little bit of time together, but I learned a lot from her for sure.
Yeah, you women are actually, y'all the bomb, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Men better watch, look, I tell all men, you better watch out, because when women decide to rule the earth, we're done.
That's right. Because I really think you can run Franklin's organization.
I do too.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I think you could.
I think so too, y'all.
Mm.
Hear that, Franklin?
Yes. Franklin, she's coming for your throne.
He wants out.
Yeah, he does.
He wants to go legit. He wants out.
Right. That's right.
Hey.
And honestly, I don't know that Louie is coming for his throne. I think Louie wants her own throne. It's just, Franklin has a huge ego.
He does. I was going to ask you that about the Teddy Reed thing, because you asked to speak to Reed, like, let me talk to him. And basically Franklin shut it down. And I was wondering, I was like, did he shut it down out of control? Or did he shut it down because he's trying to protect the family too? Because he doesn't know if Reed really did something to his father. So maybe was he being protective or was he just being controlling?
I think it's probably a little bit of both,
Okay.
Yeah.
I was actually
I don't
happy
know
he
which
did
one
that.
is bigger. Which how?
I was
What'd you
actually
say?
happy he did that because I think Teddy Reed, whatever you want to call him these days, is a maniac. Like
I do too.
yeah. So yeah, I'm glad he
Yeah.
did that.
No, I think
Yeah.
I agree with you, Angela. I think it was both. I think that he
Mhm.
is trying to protect you too. I think he wants to stay in control, but also he's trying to protect the fam.
Yeah. He's trying to protect the fam, and I think, but because of his ego, he's not seeing what the fam is trying to tell him. Like, we can all be protected if we all like work together. We can do this thing, but I think the ego has gotten too big.
Yeah.
Mm.
So are you going to rejoin as one group or?
Watch
Mm.
No.
We have
I
to
knew
watch and see.
I knew I shouldn't have asked that question.
It's gonna be a fun wild ride either way.
Oh, it already is. When you guys started off with Lynn Bias, I said, oh,
Yep.
SnowFall is starting off hot. You
Right.
guys came in hot.
Yes.
Yeah, that took me back. I had to sit back in my seat with that initial scene because I remember so well that whole storyline and to see it play on the screen like that with SnowFall. Tiffany, she coined it very well. I mean, it was hot and also very emotional too because it brought back so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about our show is we're able to tap into some very real, situations and actual history and bring that to light to remind people of what happened,
Right.
to remind people of our loss and to remind people of how that loss happened. It wasn't just us doing it to ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't have just done that to ourselves by ourselves.
Exactly.
No way.
Right.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for your work on the show. We love it. We love it.
Yes,
Thank
we do.
you.
We love
Thank
your
you so
character.
much.
You are an amazing actress, and we look forward to everything else that you do. We're rooting for you to make it through the season because once I saw you and Jerome in the car being lovey-dovey and y'all were horseback riding, I was like, this looks too happy right now, and it's making me nervous. So I'm praying that you guys make it through the season. And we want to let you go because we want to be mindful of your time. But we are so appreciative that you joined us today.
Definitely.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Great,
Yes,
great.
you are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And tell Mr. Afro to keep his hands off you.
Look, tell Damson that one of my other friends was like, she wants to pass him your number. I know you hear that a lot because a lot of women love Damson.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
present company included. Yeah.
Yes, right here.
This podcast too.
I will let him know. Okay. Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Have a good day.
Definitely.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
War is a four-letter word. Trust yourself and you get hurt. Tell yourself it's so absurd.